Basketball, football, baseball. From Division I to Division III, it's time for College Sports Weekly with Don Macholis and Dan Underberg on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Better than mine. I got a packed house yelling, bring them out, bring them out. I'm a hot girl yelling, bring them out, bring them out. All the dope boys yelling, bring them out, bring them out. Put the backstage yelling, bring them out, bring them out. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
All right, welcome in on another Saturday as we get closer to the start of the college football season. This is College Sports Weekly. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. We are powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Don Macholis, along with the Professor Dan Underberg, Charlie using on the ones and twos as we are back in the studio because of the threat of rain that was forecasted all week long. That has not come to fruition. And the decision was made the other day that we would not be at the fair because of the forecast, which I completely understand.
That's what they told you, but you guys were a little scary last time. I think you were driving people away. I don't know.
Charlie, I put it this way to my friend over there is that we are the kids who get the bad worksheets and the broken box of crayons when everybody else gets to go on a field trip and get sent down the hallway. That's us. So we're back in the studio this week again as we make our way ever closer to the start of college football season, but a lot on the docket to get to today. Coming up in about 20, 25 minutes, we're going to talk with Ben Steele, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, some stuff happening with Marquette basketball that we want to dive into. The fact that they've now come back from Canada. They've got some stuff on tape as they get ready for the upcoming season. So we'll get with Ben on that. And then Marissa Werner, Director of Sport Milwaukee, a part of Visit Milwaukee, is going to join us and talk about next week's enormous volleyball tournament that is taking place over at Fiserv Forum, where we get the likes of Texas A&M, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Louisville, Pitt, SMU, Marquette. You go right down the line. It's a who's who in women's volleyball, and it'll take place next weekend at Fiserv Forum, and we'll get a chance to talk with Marissa again in hour number 2, and then we'll check in, as we always do, with our friends at Bryan and Stratton. This week, Todd Gray will continue the volleyball talk. He's the head men's and women's coach over at Bryan Stratton, so we'll get a chance to talk with Todd as well before we hand out some shovels. So, guys, let's get to it right away and talk about some Badger football again, as we're only a couple of weeks away from the start of the season, which again will be at Lambeau Field against Notre Dame. But before we talk about Wisconsin, Dan, a couple of things that I want to throw your way, and obviously, Charlie, I want you to jump in on this as well. I'm thinking out loud right now, which is always a scary thought, I know, but the fact that as we look at spring football in its current state, we don't get spring football at the collegiate level like we used to.
Correct.
We used to get those major spring football games that we would see on ESPN, that you could go to Camp Randall and watch and just get yourself a little taste of what the upcoming season would be. And now it's kind of gone by the wayside for a number of reasons, including NIL, the transfer portal, coaches being very protective of their respective schools and organizations. I'm wondering if we're going to get to a point that in the fall, let's call it this, late summer, while camp is going on, much like the NFL was doing, and the NFL now moving away from it a little bit because they're still trying to draw eyeballs to the preseason games. But will we ever see a point where we would get some intra-squad scrimmages that would take place? Now, I'm not saying necessarily that we as a consumer would be allowed in to watch, but would the potential be there for an intra-squad scrimmage so that, for instance, a Wisconsin and a Kansas could go at each other for 2 days? You alternate years. 1 year it's at Camp Randall. 1 year we'll head down to Kansas, whatever the case may be. But an opportunity to kind of get yourself ready. Because, yes, we have non-conference games, but they're not necessarily still falling under the pretense of what we would say a preseason game is in the NFL. So again, thinking out loud, is that something that you could foresee in the future? Dan, I'll start with you.
Thinking out loud, no, it's not something that I can see happening in the future. I think number one, because the size of the rosters and the logistics to have that happen would be very difficult to do. Number two, you've got varying degrees of budgets in terms of what universities can afford and what they want to do. Three, and I know this goes, here come the emails. Some coaches are a little crazy and they don't want people to see what their guys can do. And then number four, in this era of NIL, where there's a lot of recruiting going on all 365 days of the year, I think people would be concerned about that. Even if you had to, programs like a Kansas and Wisconsin are by and large not going to meet at any point in time unless it's a bowl game. Would it be interesting? Yeah, it'd be interesting because you pay more attention to intra-squad practices in the NFL. So you'd be curious, but I think it'd be really, really challenging to do for any two programs to do it.
Charlie?
What if you were to do, let's say, okay, let's open up the practices to the public. Let's do Wisconsin versus Whitewater in an intra-squad scrimmage and give them the opportunity where Wisconsin doesn't have to show off a whole bunch because they're playing Whitewater or La Crosse or Eau Claire or something like that. That team doesn't have to travel a whole lot. You just have to go to Madison, or Madison goes and plays at Whitewater just for the fun of it. You have the fans for the D3 school be around there just to see the University of Wisconsin. How you get the D3 schools to get a little bit of a push for that season. I think that would be a lot more likely than Wisconsin and Kansas doing something like that, just because you have it within the state. It's two teams that will definitely never play each other, not even in a bowl game. And it's just two different levels to where each side doesn't really have to show off everything that they're doing. Like if there's that worry that you would be showing that, and then you can go into these and have it be a promotional event for both universities, especially since that's kind of been the whole theme of the past few months with McIntosh getting the funding from the government. Is that it's supposed to be all about the UW schools in general, not just Madison, but all of them. And this is a great way to kind of do that.
I think in that situation, which I like the fact that, again, we're driving a little bit of enthusiasm going into the season. And Wisconsin on the basketball side does it every year. You know, Greg Gard has done a miraculous job each and every year having that scrimmage before the non-conference game starts at the Kohl Center. So it's Whitewater, La Crosse, Oshkosh, whoever, to give them that experience. I think in football, however, it would have to be more controlled, which is still fine. Still open up Camp Randall and run a controlled practice between the two universities to go at it. I don't think we could do a full scrimmage just simply because you're looking at athletic differences that I would assume a D3 school, much like Dan over there said, we've got some coaches who are a little crazy. But the idea of, not wanting somebody to get hurt because of the level difference is something that would need to be examined. Go ahead, Dan.
No, it's an interesting concept because if in my brain, when I hear about that, I love the concept, but when I hear about that, which team is going to be more fired up to play? It's going to be Whitewater, right?
Right.
You want to see how you measure up. Your goal is probably to be a D1 athlete. You want to see how you measure.
And get some looks from the coaches on
you and stuff, absolutely. That's what you're looking at. So there might be some interest there in terms of the players doing that. But then if I'm Luke Fickell, do I need to potentially lose a guy because while one guy is going 75%, the other guy is going 110%, and what happens in one of these practices? But it would also be a good opportunity. And Don, you and I have been there with guys that feel that they're D1 ready, and D3, and let them see how they measure up a little bit. I don't know. I like. What do I think it'll happen? Probably not, but I like the concept of it.
The concept I like, and I think to your point where it might be 110% going against a 75% Division I athlete who's like, it's like in high school when the varsity takes on the freshman in a controlled scrimmage. You're not necessarily gung ho until you get punched. It's the old Mike Tyson thing, right? You can have all the plans you want in the world, but once you get hit in the face, sometimes it all goes out the window. You get one of those Division I athletes who gets popped by a gung-ho kid at Whitewater, La Crosse, or Oshkosh, and then it's game on. So I think the Division I athletes eventually could match the intensity, But again, there'd be so much to get sorted
Mhm.
out, much like, again, talking about Wisconsin and Kansas in our hypothetical, that whether it happens or not, again, I thought it was just interesting as far as the discussion goes, just to see how things play out. Here's another one for you guys. What happens in the world of college athletics today, where as we make our way through the preseason, an NFL team cuts a player who has 1 year of eligibility left? I've got a kid who left his junior year, got drafted, goes to the NFL. I'll use the Packers, gets cut by Green Bay, let's say this week, still has a year of eligibility left. And what does he do? He runs to the court system and
Yes, he
says,
does.
I need another year. Do we see that potentially happening?
I see the sprint to the courthouse. I see that. It depends on what kind of strength the occasional paper tiger NCAA has to prevent that. But I see that as a courthouse sprint. If that's a term, it should be kind of a thing, because
Wow, that's a T-shirt in
a
waiting.
yeah, absolutely.
go.
Because how do I get a year of eligibility back? Well, you gave it up when you became a professional, but I'm not a professional anymore. And then the payment and all these different things, and then the whole thing about hardship, always about hardship. You can't place this on a person. So, yeah, I could definitely see it happening. Will it be successful? Someday it will be.
Charlie.
If not sooner than later.
Well, and it's probably going to be with this guy. They already made it work for the basketball side of
Yeah,
things.
That's
Like,
exactly.
and that's where I was
Exactly.
going
like
with
they're
it,
just going
right?
to flip this on over to football because
Yeah.
football's king. And if you cause any kind of controversy right now, again, the NCAA, I think, is trying to avoid any big things as much as possible because they've just been so weighed down by big things over the past couple of months that this is something where it's just like, fine, let him play. If a team wants to sign him for the 1 year, fine, whatever, sign him for the 1 year. And a team's going to, like, Baylor's going to give him a contract. That's who keeps doing this over and over again, is giving these vets these contracts. It's crazy. Like, I don't understand it. I'm gonna keep harping on this every single week. Why the NCAA just can't say no? Just say no. Just say no. You sucked in the NFL. That's your problem. I don't know what to tell you. Like, German football league is really cool. It's growing. Go play over there, man. Have fun. Like, there's other opportunities for this guy than taking a spot from a kid that hasn't gotten that opportunity to play at the NFL yet, where a Canadian football team would probably be happy to have you. A UFL team would probably be happy to have you.
Yeah.
A lot of other opportunities that can give you that stage to put yourself back in the NFL eventually, instead of just going back to where you've already been and where you already lost that opportunity.
I love the idea, though, of a T-shirt. I can picture, like, the start-finish line being the NCAA, and then the courtroom is the finish line with the guy sprinting in the middle. Get on that, Daniel. We're going to make you some money off
We'll
of that.
do it right
Get
now.
on
Right
it.
at when we get off air.
Yeah, it was something, as I was prepping for today's show, I started to think about in listening and reading some other things as well, because basketball, as Charlie said, has done it. Football could, and I'm also waiting for baseball. I'm waiting for the kid who gets drafted. Again, I'm using in-state hometown teams as an example. This is all hypothetical, but somebody who gets drafted by the Brewers, who still has a year of eligibility left, decides to make that move, understands or then begins to understand what the minor league system is like, and goes, oh, wait a minute, life was much, much better over at the university, of who we played, how we traveled, all of the swag that we got, you name it. I think I want to go back. These are the types of things that we roll our eyes to, that we think are ridiculous, but they're the kind of things that people are sprinting to the courtroom for in order to take care of business. All right, let's switch. Let's go to some Wisconsin football. Want to remind everybody, coming up Tuesday night, August 18th at 7:00, weather permitting, outside. I will be sarcastic about this all show long, but weather permitting, sponsored by Culver's. It's going to be an open practice at Camp Randall. It's free. It starts at 7, doors open at 6. You get an opportunity, if you want, to go up there and watch the Badgers go through a practice. Now, one of the things that we got to experience this week, at least through interviews and social media, others have had this experience, but I think Coach Mateo is stepping out a little bit, the offensive line coach, bless his heart. I mean, this guy is unfiltered, uncut, just going about his business. Now, he's talking about the fact that this week we've seen a couple of guys go down. And one of the nice things about the Badgers this season is the depth. And we talked about that depth last week on our show, that it's competitive. It's creating an atmosphere, I think, in Madison, much different than the first couple of years under Luke Fickell. But guys now on the offensive line are having to be moved around. So they're talking about Simmons moving to the right tackle. Here's how Coach Mateo described that move.
Okay, I got to move over to the right. He's never done right tackle, in his career. So, that's a big change. And some people don't think it's a big change, but, try wiping after you go to the bathroom with your opposite hand and tell me how it goes, So
Love it. I love it.
That's different. It is harder.
It's old school offensive line. It just is.
Yeah.
It's not listening to a coach talk about technique, talk about this, the stuff that we've listened to for the last few years under Luke Fickell. We have gone a complete 180 back to Big Ten football, and it starts in the trenches. And you brought in a guy like Mateo to turn that thing around. He's done it at Baylor. He's done it at a couple of other stops. His forte is getting an offensive line back to being an offensive line. Hand in the dirt, get gritty. We're going to punch you in the mouth, and we're going to wear you down so that by the fourth quarter, we're going to enact our will upon you, and we're going to do what we want to do
That's
offensively.
what you want. Yeah, that's what you want. But I'm going to defer to Charlie. So let's go to this for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You go from the left side to the right side, or vice versa. And what are the challenges that come with that?
So he's right. Like, wiping with your left and right hand, it's completely different. It's a weird experience. I dislocated my elbow, had shoulder surgery on my right arm.
When you say
different.
that, you've got to preface those individuals right now who are enjoying breakfast or a cup of coffee. We're going to be talking about wiping, but go ahead.
Somebody might be wiping right now too, so they're fine. They're cool with this conversation.
Most people are when they listen to the show.
But the position wise, it is a little different. Everything is the same overall. Like, what the plays are, what you have to do, but it's just being in that different stance. It's a completely different setup because you're flipping your feet. So it feels weird. All of a sudden you're thinking about things backwards than you were thinking before. All of these things change. And I think while it is something that you can pick up a little quicker once you start getting the practice and the hang of it, once you first start at a new position, especially just on the opposite side of the line, it takes some of that growing pain, some of that period to get over that hump, over that hurdle. And I think Eric Mateos is the perfect coach to help these guys get through that and get through that mental hurdle of just flipping your feet, of just going the opposite way on a play because you were thinking about your old position. Like, all these other small things I think are huge for these young players, that you have this coach that's there with them who understands the struggle with that. Because I think a lot of coaches will just say, no, like, it's the same. You're doing the same job on either side of the line. Figure it out. Like,
Yeah,
just get
they're
it
going
done.
old school.
He obviously knows that it's a difference and that you have to be able to work through that. And I think that's huge for this Badgers football team.
And what's huge again for this Badger football team is something that has lacked. So when you've got guys who are getting nicked up, who go down with injuries, who miss portions of camp because it's part of the game, you've got now enough depth, seemingly has been reported at every single position, to get a next man up mentality that is truthful. That is truthful. I think we get preached next men up
all the time
mentality all the time.
Yeah.
But if you don't have skill set or the talent to be that guy to step in, it's irrelevant. I think now, because of NIL, the commitment that this Badger team has gotten from the university and its alumnus, I think now you finally have a little bit of that under Coach Fickell. Now it's going to be up to Coach Fickell to see. It's funny right now because, I said last week I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I still am. It's delicious, by the way, but I hear more and more people this morning stop to pick up the soda and the water and whatever. And my guy at the BP station, as we sit and chat on Saturday mornings before coming in here, you're hearing more in his realm about watch out for that Notre Dame game. Like the optimism now is starting to really flow. I'm not saying again, I think the Badgers will win.
Oh, you're getting
He's
closer.
getting close.
Will win. But I'm getting close. I'm getting real close. Little more sugar in the Kool-Aid, and life is good. But I guess where I'm going is I'm sensing more optimism in talking to people about the upcoming season.
I get it, and I get it, and I understand because the news coming out of these practices doesn't feel like it's being spun as much over it has been the last couple of years. There was always kind of what you saw didn't really kind of match what was being said a little bit, and now there's more of a willingness to just come out and say the things that that allow you to have a little bit. I mean, the idea of just being more upfront in your responses if you're a coach about what you see, feels like there's less filter, and that's a good sign. That's a good sign. And yeah, I will. If this helps, Don,
Go.
if it helps.
It helps.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's in the fridge.
Ooh.
Okay, but
the boy has
New
mixed it and put
development.
it in the fridge.
yeah, so it's just gonna sit there for a little bit
Okay.
because I want this team to do well. I want this
Yeah.
team to do well, but it's just they got to prove it
What's it going to take for you to take a sip of that Kool-Aid before the season starts?
before the season starts.
Yes.
Sip or shot. Because I'm not drinking from the jug. I'm not, that might be just the annual. Okay, you're my team.
Uh-huh.
Gonna do a little bit of this and just see what happens, and then not go crazy. But there may be some drinking straight from the jug if they actually beat Notre Dame. Yeah, straight from
He's
the game.
pounding.
Jug all
He's
over him,
pounding.
Right.
Absolutely. One last thing, guys, before we get to break. And again, after the break, Ben Steele's going to join us and talk some Marquette hoops. When I keep reading, listening, watching the different things through the varying sources that we have with regards to the Wisconsin Badgers, I hear a lot of accolades about the defensive backs, about the secondary. And then I hear questions about the receiving core. And it makes me wonder,
Right.
are the defensive backs showing out in practice because the receivers aren't necessarily to the level that maybe we hope? Because we're still waiting for the reports, I'll say it that way, to come out and say, oh, so-and-so, he's your number one. This is the guy we're going to be focusing on. That hasn't necessarily come to fruition yet. So I'm wondering again, are our defensive backs looking good because of who they're facing in practice? Or is it a fact that maybe our defensive backs are that good and they're shutting the receivers down and the receivers aren't getting a chance to do what they need to do and have somebody take that next step?
Hopefully it's a second, right? Hopefully it's one of those things where do you know how hard it is? And Charlie, you'll know this better than I will, but how hard it is to find a team with two quality defensive backs. Usually you might have one guy, maybe you have a safety that's back there somewhere, but it always feels in the defensive backfield there's going to be a weak link, and that's college football. You get a guy through the system, he gets drafted, he graduates, whatever it's going to be, and then you've got to kind of build up that freshman or sophomore phenom that's going to be the next guy, and that's who's focused on in terms of game planning for the opposing offense. So I'm really hoping that your plan B, your Kool-Aid plan B, is what's happening over there, because our receivers at Wisconsin have been lauded a little bit. They've been put out there to say, yeah, there's some improvement here, but yeah, hopefully it's plan B.
But because you've, I guess, added that improvement, it's also a new room. It's also a lot of new players that are coming into a new system with a new quarterback throwing the ball to them. Like, I think all of that has an effect on this too. And as a defensive back, I'd say this with like defensive linemen too, your job is truly just to react a lot of
Mhm.
the times, and you don't need to practice like reacting. You just go and do it. You go out there and stuff. With like the offense, you need to practice your playbook. You need to practice your routes and have that mental kind of image of all that. If you don't have that perfect, the defense is going to get you.
Mhm.
And I think you see that a lot in training camps, again, with offensive linemen versus defensive linemen. Defensive linemen will just bull rush or go right by these guys, and everyone's like, oh, the offensive line sucks. The offensive line's awful. Well, no, they're not in a real game situation where they are more confident in this spot. They're in training camp where they're still practicing and working on that type of thing. Whereas the defensive player is working on their moves. They're just working on being out there as a football player a lot of the time. Yes, you have plays that you eventually work on
Mhm.
too, but when it's those one-on-one situations, when it's these team type moments, you're just playing football. And that's what this is. I think the cornerbacks, defensive linemen have that ability a little bit easier throughout these camp periods. And then I think also Wisconsin, just overall throughout the past few years, defensive back has been a little bit of a brighter spot for them. I think you can see that with bad teams in general, typically, is that defensive back room, because teams aren't throwing at them nearly as
Mhm.
much, or because just other wide receivers aren't taking the game as seriously, those guys tend to stand out a little bit more. I think this is just a symptom of what we've seen throughout the past few years with Wisconsin football that is slowly starting to change, but it's still just training camp. Like, give the wide receiver, give the offense some time.
All right, that's fair. So with that, let's get to a break. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk to our Marquette insider, Ben Steele from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel is slated to join us. Marquette coming off of that Canadian trip and also getting some news about a potential recruit for next year. Things just like we're getting to drink the Kool-Aid for the Badgers. I think people are starting to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit here for Marquette because things are looking good for the Golden Eagles. And we'll talk to Ben Steele on the other side of the break. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios and powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. All right, welcome back in. It's College Sports Weekly. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sports Book. We're going to jump to the Nicolay Law talk and text line and bring in our Marquette insider from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. It's Ben Steele. Benjamin, good morning, sir.
Oh, what's up, guys? This is a segment for the real sickos out here. Wanted to talk Marquette basketball on August 15th.
Absolutely.
That's our audience, though. That's our audience.
Well, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? This is what we do. This is better than, honestly, Ben talking about NIL, the transfer
Thank you
portal,
for that, Ben.
and all the other mess that's been going
Our
on.
audience is now the real sickos. That's for the rest of my life.
There we go.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Cut that. We have 2 T-shirts now to cut after this thing is done. So, Ben, wanted to get you on because Marquette took that foreign trip that they're allowed to every so many years. And we were just saying amongst us during the break, if I'm on that team right now, I'm like, really? The last time you went on a trip was in 23. You got to go to Italy. We went to Canada, but we'll save that for another story. Another story that will erupt our friends to the north. But nonetheless, they go 3-0 on the trip. One of the things that you wrote about was the fact that, now Shaka Smart has got some tape on this group as they start to get ready to report for camp in a few weeks. They got a little bit of time off. What were some of the things that they're taking away from that Canadian road trip?
Yeah. I know with there's so many changing rules in the NCAA. I know it's hard to keep up, but you can actually take a foreign trip any time you want to now, any year. You don't have to wait 4 years like you used to a couple of years ago. They just changed that. So Marquette's kind of taken advantage of that because they have so many key new pieces, with the 2 transfers they're bringing in, Sananda Frew, Nolan Minnesali. Those guys are going to be key players next year. So I think what Shaka Smart's thinking was they wanted to get a jump start on the chemistry, right? So when you take these foreign tours, you actually get 10 extra practices from the NCAA. NCAA allows you 10 extra practices. And I think that's the key of what they wanted to get more cohesion with this group. They want to hit the ground running. Obviously last year didn't go the way anyone wanted it to go in 12-20 for Marquette. They want to come out much better next season, any way they can to get a jump start on the season. The competition they faced in Canada, from what I understand, it was more like a Division III team, like if they were playing like UW Whitewater out there. So the games are kind of incidental, but the practices, the bonding time of doing events and being together all the time for 10 days in a different place, you're not practicing against each other, you're playing against different people. That was the key thing for this Marquette team. That's what they wanted to do. I think they accomplished that. I think the biggest takeaway that I got from talking to Shaka Smart is that he knows who his top 7 players are. Whereas last year, it took him a while. That the beginning of last year was, I don't have to remind Marquette fans this, but it was really rough. And, it kind of stabilized at the back half of the season once, Marquette leaned into its younger players like Nigel James and Adrian Stevens, and they kind of figured out who the best players were, who the future was, and leaning into that, it stabilized a little bit. But I think going in this year, he knows who his top 7 players are, which I think is good.
When you look at this roster right now, and it's still I would define it still a relatively young roster. It's not senior laden by any means.
No.
What freshmen do you think have an opportunity to be that 8th guy, the one that could build into working into the rotation for Marquette?
Yeah, I think I talked to Shaka Smart about this. They have a guy, Ethan Johnston, who is about 6'7", really long arms. Like if you walked in the Marquette gym, you'd be like, wow, that's a basketball player right there. He really looks like an Omax Prosper, if people remember him. Like if you walked in, you're like, wow, that guy looks like a future NBA player. No, I'm not saying that he's going to come in and change the landscape of things, but he looks like a really good defensive, like glue guy type of guy. And those guys are the guys who, when they come in as freshmen, can find a role, as opposed to like a freshman who was a big scorer in college or in high school, and then he comes to college and like you're thrown into a role when you're not the main guy anymore. Ethan Johnson was a guy who he was a role guy. He played on really good AU teams, really good high school teams, and he was a role guy on those teams. So it's not a incredible like change of expectations for him. He just has to play his games. I think he can find a definite role as like a switchable defensive guy that can play with a lot of players.
We're talking with Ben Steele, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. We like to call Ben our Marquette insider. Does such a fantastic job reporting on the Golden Eagles for JS Online. Ben, some good news with Marquette. Marlon Martinez signs and says, I'm on my way for the upcoming 27 class. I used to get really excited when I would see things like this, but the state of college athletics is such that it's awesome. And yet I still have a bit of trepidation because these athletes seemingly switch on a dime depending on who throws whatever money at them. But let's say Marlon's on his way to Marquette. What's the upside of Marlon Martinez?
Yeah, it is a little different with Marquette, though, because they still put a premium on recruiting high school guys, whereas a lot of programs don't do that. So in Marquette's case, I think these are guys that you're going to see, and more than likely, like with Marquette's track record, they're going to be at Marquette for multiple years. Marlon Martinez was the first commitment in the 2027 class. Really interesting story. He's a Dominican Republic native, which is, kind of rare for basketball. But his dad was a really good player in Latin America. So he has that kind of pedigree. His dad played on like the national team and played in, they never made the Olympics or anything, but he played in all the international tournaments below the Olympic level. And his son, Marlon Martinez Jr., is a really good player, plays at a really good high school program in Florida. So he plays against a top competition across the nation. Those are the kind of players that Marquette likes to recruit, who come in kind of battle tested. What's really interesting about Marlon Martinez is he's a shooter. And if you look at the track record over the last couple of years at Marquette's really struggled 3-point shooting, haven't had like that knockdown shooter. This guy has a chance to be that. And he's really got really good physical profile. He's 6'5", strong, and he's got super long arms, 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. So he's got the profile and the skills. You never know for sure until they get here, but I think this is a pretty good pickup for Marquette.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't think this is a stretch to say this, that as the season begins and takes off, a lot of the attention is going to go on to Nigel James Jr. with the success that he had last year.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at his, I don't want to call it stats, but online, he's listed as 6'195", and that to me sounds chiseled. You know what I mean? Like he spent a lot of time in the weight room with the time that you've had to spend around the team, and probably not a ton, but who looks like they've made the physical jump from year one to year two? Who's that guy?
There's a guy who didn't play a lot last year, Michael Phillips II. He came in, he reclassified, so he was only 17 when he came to Marquette last year. He skipped his senior season in high school to join Marquette last year. I thought maybe he might redshirt because of that, but they really like his skills. And he played, his spotting time was sporadic last year. Actually had his best game in the last game of the season in the Big East tournament. I know it's a game that no one's going to remember because they lost in the first round of the Big East tournament, but Michael Phillips, and he's got a beautiful shooting stroke. He's a guy that could be another knockdown shooter. But, obviously he came in at 17. He wasn't quite physically ready to play against 22, 23-year-olds or, 25 now in college basketball season. But if you look at him physically this summer, like he has dramatically changed his body. He's super strong. So I think he's a guy, Michael Phillips II, Demarius Owens, those are two guys that are going to be X factors for this Marquette team. I like the starting five a lot. They fit together. I think it's a really good starting five, but like the depth, that's the question mark for this Marquette team. And those two guys, Michael Phillips, Demarius Owens, those guys could be the big difference between, I think Marquette's going to be a lot better next year. It's hard to be worse than they were last year. But if those two guys pop and really hit, like this could be a really good team, I think.
Ben, you're the best. We're up against a break. Thanks for jumping on and talking about something, at least that gives us hope going into the fall. It isn't NIL or transfer portal related. We'll fall under the sicko category. That's all right.
Hey, anything for our sickos out there.
That a boy, Ben. Have a great weekend. Thanks again, sir.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. That is Ben Steele. He joined us on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. We got to get to a break. It's College Sports Weekly. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, and we're powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back in, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. We are College Sports Weekly, and we are powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Let's get to some headlines as we make our way to the top of the hour. Doc Rivers inducted last night into the Basketball Hall of Fame. I know things did not go well for Doc in the Milwaukee Bucks after his return, which I was one initially that was fingers crossed, toes crossed, really hoping for this triumphant return to the Milwaukee area. But the one thing we can't take away is what Doc meant to Marquette, especially during his playing days. So congratulations. I know he had success as a coach with Boston and so forth, but
just a collective impact on the
Yes.
game. He's had that. You can't argue that.
and we'll keep it local. And so with what he did for Marquette during his playing days. So congratulations to Doc Rivers and his family. We get a report this week that the Uline family threw $35 million at Northwestern. Talk about a school right now who's just riding a wave with the fact that they're going to have the new stadium that will open up against Ohio State in October. And now you've got the Uline family who's going to dump $35 million into their coffers to help their athletic program. I know there was some things on social media about the Badgers losing out. Oh my gosh, you've got an in-state family, and the Ulines gave to Northwestern because their grandson played at Northwestern. That's where the connection is. I get it. I wish we were dumping $35 million into the Badger coffers, but understand where the connection was. It's not necessarily that somehow Northwestern out PR'd and sold in order to get that donation.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't understand. Like, you think about all the, I use the air quotes, all the millionaires and such that are out there, but when they are in philanthropy, there's got to be that connection that you
Right.
talked about. Otherwise, you're just asking for money. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's why the Kellner family is so important to Wisconsin, is the connection that they have there. So in order to get those big checks, there's got to be some kind of emotional buy-in, some connection to do that. And Northwestern did exactly what it had to do. And you're right. Northwestern's riding this wave right now. And, I'm low key a Northwestern fan. I hope they have successful seasons.
Yeah.
Right. And they can kind of turn this around a little bit, because between their athletic facility where their guys can train, this new football stadium, which is now state of the art and beautiful, and this kind of donation into I'll call it the general fund. Maybe Northwestern can kind of, bump itself up a little bit into a higher level of the Big Ten.
So a story that got some traction here on our show about a month ago was when Dusty May left to coach the Dallas Mavericks, walked away from the Michigan Wolverines after winning a national championship. There was a nice article this week in The Athletic with regards to it, and I appreciated once again the openness within that article where Dusty May said, I was all fired up to go to the Big Ten coaches meeting. I walked in, I sat there for a day, and I realized nothing's getting fixed. I think he walked in, I won't say being naive, but I think walked in with a sense of optimism that maybe the Big Ten was going to do something. And after sitting there one day throughout those meetings, rolled his eyes and went, nothing's getting fixed. Nothing's going to change. If somebody wants to knock on my door, I'm going to let them knock on my door.
Well, you went to the NBA, which is such a well-run organization that doesn't have any of its own problems that they're going through right now. Like, is it that much better?
I just honestly, I think with everything that's going on in the NBA is at a level above a Dusty May where he can have
He doesn't have to be really involved in all that.
I
He's
can
not
just
recruiting his own guys every year. Yeah.
I can just go in. Here's my team. Let me coach and run the basketball things. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. When we come back, we'll kick it off with Marissa Werner, Director of Sport Milwaukee, as part of Visit Milwaukee, and talk about the AVCA First Serve, which will take place next week. It's College Sports Weekly, and we're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
basketball, football, baseball. From Division 1 to Division 3, it's time for College Sports Weekly with Don Macholis and Dan Underberg on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of College Sports Weekly. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sports Book. And as we make our way here into hour 2, it's going to be a lot of volleyball that we'll be discussing here in the course of our show. Marissa Werner is coming up here from Visit Milwaukee, and then we'll also have a chance to talk with Todd Gray, the head coach for both the men's and women's teams at Bryant Stratton. So again, a lot of volleyball to get to, and why wait? Let's jump to it. We go to the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line and bring in Marissa Werner from Visit Milwaukee. Marissa, good morning. Thanks for jumping on.
Good morning. No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've got an amazing event coming next week within the world of college athletics, and this women's volleyball tournament, the AVCA First Serve, that will take place down at Fiserv Forum. This is epic. This is really a coup. I'll say it that way, for the city, with the number of teams and the quality of teams that will be competing again next week over at Fiserv.
Yes, we are unbelievably lucky. Milwaukee is only the 3rd city to host this annual event. And we are welcoming 8 of the nation's top volleyball programs. And the only other opportunity to see these teams compete would be at the NCAA championships. And several of these teams, majority of them, played in the championships actually last year, and including the current champion. So we're really excited. It's a preseason tournament, and there's no other place to be able to see it, this kind of competition.
Marissa, you play D1 volleyball. So when you saw the teams that were coming in, what was your first reaction?
Oh, I get so excited every time. Yes, I was very blessed, I always like to say, because, it's definitely a bit of talent. It's a little bit of luck. And at the time that I played volleyball, there wasn't as much stiff competition. And so I was able to get a full ride to Fordham University out in New York. And for me, it was not just about playing. It was also about just being in New York City, which was amazing. And so to see this level of competition, you get a little bit of jealousy. You wish you were able to experience what these teams are experiencing on this level, but just, pure joy, because it's something that's been a part of my life for so long.
Let's take a step back a little bit, because Sport Milwaukee, I don't know that people really understand its role in bringing in tournaments like this. I think if I had to describe it or kind of put some preference to it, it's a little bit, when people have a conversation, there's always they should do this or they should do that. And in a way, Sport Milwaukee is the they, because your role is to bring in an opening round bracket for men's basketball, or a tournament like this, or every kind of we had the U.S. national. Oh my goodness. What did we just have 2 weeks ago, Marissa? Sorry, I'm kind of brain farting on this one.
Oh, you're okay for triathlon.
The triathlon.
Yes. Which I spent 4 days on our beautiful lakefront working nonstop for over 6,000 athletes throughout the entire, weekend. And yes.
So what's the
process? I don't think people are as familiar with Sports Milwaukee.
So just give us a quick, 60-second overview of what your team does and how you go about bringing tournaments like this into the state or the city.
Of course. Yes. So even though it's obviously introduced as Visit Milwaukee, I think people are a little bit more familiar, obviously, with that brand and that organization. I have worked for that organization now for 15 years, and I was brought in to just bring in sporting events. And throughout my years, learned that sport tourism is really, kind of its own animal in a way, because it's not as cut and dry as when you bring in just meetings or conventions. You need to wear kind of a marketing hat, and you have to wear an events hat and also a sales hat. So you kind of encompass it all. And so I had looked at other cities, and we were really the only city of our size to not have a dedicated sport tourism institution. And everybody runs it differently, but if you look at Kansas City, which, a lot of people, I think, were really surprised, hosted the World Cup. They have had one of the oldest running sports commissions around and are unbelievably successful. So I look and I learn a lot from other cities who have done it really well. And we are now entering into our, 6th year soon enough as Sports Milwaukee. We're a team of 3, but still under the umbrella of Visit Milwaukee and still under the leadership of Peggy Williams-Smith. But, it's really been great to see us kind of excel over these last few years in the amount of events that we're bringing in that bring great marketing value. And I think people are really starting to notice.
Marissa, when we look at an event like this, I mean, as a consumer, we just get to roll down there for the weekend. We buy our tickets, we pop in, and we get to watch these games. What did it take, to get this put together, especially with the quality of teams that have been brought together to have this preseason tournament that will take place next weekend?
I would love to say this is one of the events that I have had my fingerprints all over and really put it together. But, there are other events that I've had a lot more of a role in. But the American Volleyball Coaches Association, that is, the host of this event, really the owner of it. It's because of their years of relationships with all of these teams. And they host an annual convention in conjunction with the NCAA championships that usually take place every December. So they really put the teams together, but it was a little bit of luck and a little bit of obviously relationships here with Marquette University, who will also be participating and competing on Monday at Fiserv Forum. Some of their team members are heavily involved with NCAA and suggested we should host this event. And everything aligned, kind of some connections came into play, and we were meeting with the CEO, Jamie Gordon, at ABCA, and next thing you know, we were the hosts, and unbelievably excited because people really don't realize how much of a volleyball hub Milwaukee is.
So I'll just ask the question, is there any chance that the NCAA is using this to measure Milwaukee as a potential championship site?
I mean, I would hope so. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, that is our long-term goal. We're, obviously cannot share too much, but in discussion with numerous other organizations as to the opportunities of bringing in even larger, if not as large, volleyball events for our community in the coming years. So we're in the midst of the NCAA bid cycle right now. And for those that may not be familiar, the whole NCAA championships go out every few years, and you bid out for basically 3 to 4 school years. And so you go through and see which championships could be a good fit. And right now we're in the midst of that, and hoping we'll find out early next year that Milwaukee will be host to several championships over the coming years.
Marissa, I'm going to deviate just a little bit off of volleyball for a moment and kind of piggyback off of what Dan just asked. And the fact that American Family Field is, I'll say, going through some renovations, some upgrades, in which we hope that by next season or the season after, some things could take place during the winter just by putting heat into the joint. Having that type of venue available during the winter, how does that then add to, I hate to use the word the credibility, but more of the marketability of the community to bring in larger events to benefit, much like what we're going to get next weekend with the volleyball tournament?
Oh, it will absolutely open up so many more doors. And, there's been conversations that have occurred with, myself and their team, and understanding and when, because we are just as anxious as anybody else for the winterization to be completed, as it will really allow us to expand. I know it's been said in publications before about whether it's WWE, large events, but it could be for NCAA championships too, that, Fiserv Forum may not be, large enough for it because it's just grown in capacity and numbers over the years. So we are very much looking forward to that winterization completion, and excited to even look at opportunities maybe we haven't thought of yet.
When you because of your career in volleyball, and you've got maybe a little bit of a different perspective of the growth of this sport, specifically within the NCAA. 30 years ago, volleyball was volleyball, but now it has really become kind of a stop and watch moment, particularly as you get into the championships or you get later into the season. And the success of Wisconsin volleyball has helped that locally. But what do you attribute the kind of the growth of volleyball, collegiate volleyball, in terms of how it's become so popular so quickly?
Listen, I think we all saw with Nebraska and the anomaly that they are, and being able to fill an entire football stadium to see a volleyball game. I mean, yes, volleyball is growing leaps and bounds, but also taking into account, they don't have any professional teams there. So there's an opportunity to really just grab onto that fan base and grow further and further. But I don't think volleyball, the fan base is going to stop growing in other communities that even do have professional teams. And we've seen that here. And I think it starts at the club and the youth level. Unfortunately, I think we've seen a lot of sports deteriorate throughout our elementary schools. And club volleyball has done such a great job of really providing opportunities to play at all different talent levels. So I think people have caught on to that. And so seeing that growth is just an opportunity to grow the fan base at such a young age. And then that's just kind of trickled up, and you've made kind of fans for life. And I don't think that's going to stop. And we see that in all the volleyball tournaments that we host throughout the first and second quarter at Baird Center. With the amount of teams that are registered from 2 years ago to now, they're almost doubling in size, which is fantastic with the expansion of the Baird Center.
We're talking with Marissa Werner, Director of Sports Milwaukee, a part of Visit Milwaukee. And Marissa, an event like this that's happening next week, along with what you were just describing again over at the Baird Center with the number of tournaments that can be played there, part of the impact for southeastern Wisconsin and Wisconsin in general is economically, obviously. And what type of economic impact will a tournament like we're hosting next week, like I have anything to do with it anyhow, that's being hosted next week, what is that, what does that mean for downtown Milwaukee and, again, Wisconsin in general?
Of course. I mean, they're looking at bringing in approximately 30,000 people over the entire event over the few days. And that'll bring about a $6 million economic impact. These are families that are going to be coming in, even if it's just an hour drive away, they're going to be spending it on gas or, going to the restaurants before or after. So these kinds of events are great, for generating tax revenue for our community. And there's still opportunity to attend. So if anybody is interested in coming, please know there are still tickets available for all 4 days. Amazing competition. We actually have a block party that's happening at the Deer District before Friday's event, Saturday and Sundays.
That sounds amazing, because we know how Fiserv Forum hosts events, and that Deer District does an amazing job of that. And you're going to have a lot of people that are just walking in just to soak in the volleyball, right? Just to be around that and to do that. I'm going to kind of put you in a position where you look at, when we complete this NCAA season, who do you think is going to be in the Final Four right now? Because I put out there that I think it's going to be, the Final Four is going to come from this group. I really do. I think it's going to be.
It will be.
So
I understand we don't have Nebraska here, and they're always a huge contender.
Right.
But the talent is amazing. I'm always, of course, going to go and cheer for our home teams, and Marquette's program is really growing. They're doing fantastic. But of course, I'm always cheering for Wisconsin to make it to that final, because it's fun to watch, and it's always fun to cheer for a team that's in your backyard. And then I think, Kentucky, without a doubt, Texas, they're always a powerhouse. So I don't know, though. There were some major upsets last year, and it'll be fun this year.
The best part about now is you can make a choice, and it'll be forgotten by the time we get to the championship. So you can't be right or wrong with that. But Marissa, before we let you go, we've got 2 matches taking place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You talked about tickets still being available. Does the purchase of a ticket allow you, let's say on a Friday night, to see Texas A&M and Louisville along with Wisconsin or Kentucky, I should say? Does it allow you to see both of those matches when you purchase a single ticket?
Yes, it does. And that is what makes it so great. You get 2 for the price of 1, basically. You are getting 2 excellent matches for 1 single ticket on each day. So, definitely worth it. I would suggest bring the family and have a great time.
Marissa, thank you so much for coming on this morning and joining us. We really appreciate it, and much success with what you're doing there at Sport Milwaukee, and have a great tournament next weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
All right, that's Marissa Werner joining us again from Sport Milwaukee, which is associated with Visit Milwaukee, and she joined us on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. And Dan, I mean, this again is one of those, I call it a coup that Milwaukee has gotten, that Wisconsin gets, whether it's Madison, Green Bay, whatever the case may be, when you bring in, again, the level of talent, the amount of games that are going to be presented over the weekend, and the rise in popularity of women's volleyball. This is going to make for a fun middle of August type weekend event.
Yeah, and the timing is perfect because it's not really going to be interrupted by school and those kinds of plans. Like, it's a great last weekend to get out with everybody and just enjoy this. Especially if you're fans of the game of volleyball at this level, and if you're looking to explore more about it and what the buzz is about it, it's a great opportunity to see. I don't think I'm exaggerating this one. When you see some of the players that are out there, these are Olympic athletes. These are world-class athletes that you're going to see. And the fun thing that I love about women's volleyball are just the athleticism, the rallies that happen. The men's game can sometimes be all power. The women's game has plenty of power. Just watch it. You'll see it. But then, the digs and the efforts on defense and the blocks and what that leads to it's just so much fun to watch. I'll say this: you will not be bored. You're never bored when you watch women's volleyball. It's always a great game to just kind of immerse yourself in.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to a break. When we come back after the break, we'll check in with our friends at Bryan and Stratton. We're going to talk with Todd Gray, the head volleyball coach. I'll say it that way because he's got both the men's and the women's program over at Bryan and Stratton, and we'll talk to Coach after this. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. We're powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
There's only one way to the top. You must feel that victory, release that energy.
Welcome back in College Sports Weekly, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We're going to go back to the Nicolay Law talk and text line and bring in the head men's and women's volleyball coach for our friends over at Bryan and Stratton College. It's Todd Gray. Good morning, Coach. Thanks for jumping on.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Great to have you here in talking about the volleyball program over there with the Bobcats. And Coach, I'm going to start this way. What is the difference? And I'm not trying to be naive about this, but in coaching men's and women's athletics within the same sport, as someone who did it with, I did it with grade school kids. I don't know if that difference manifests itself once they get into college, but is there a difference about how you go about, let's say practice and games between the two genders?
Yeah, there's a slight difference. The men's volleyball game typically is more of a power game. The guys just want to crush the ball all the time. In the women's game, there's more rally, working towards a kill, and that volleyball IQ sometimes is a bit higher in the women's game. So sometimes on the men's side, you have to work a little bit more on shot selection, where you want the ball to go, and things like that to get that volleyball IQ where you want it to be.
Well, there's this generally higher IQ on the women's side. Overall,
Coach, we'll say it. You don't get yourself in trouble. We'll go ahead and say it.
you were, and looking over your bio, Coach, one of the things that stands out right away is that you're the inaugural coach for the men's program. So take us through that process of actually building a team. You had your first season I believe in 2023, and you've been building that since. What is that like?
Well, the hardest part is getting your name out there first, and people don't know who you are, so they don't know what you're about. So I think the most important thing at the start of it all was trying to get the name out there, trying to tell people who we are, what we're about, and get them excited about playing Bryan and Stratton volleyball.
And in doing that, is it more of a grassroots effort in working the community, or, do you have then the ability to really reach out these days of social media and other avenues in order to start getting that name out there?
Yeah, we use some of the recruiting sites that are out there. We recruit nationwide. We try and get local people on the team as well. We like that local connection, but we also look outside of the state and look for that national connection. And we've brought players in from all over the place: American Samoa, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, you name it. We go anywhere to try and find players.
What's the pitch, if I can just kind of use that term, but what's the pitch to draw people into a 2-year school to have them play volleyball? What are they looking for, and how do you position Bryan and Stratton as a landing spot for them?
Well, I kind of pitch it as when you're out there recruiting, you can't get to every court and you can't see every player. So I find those players that maybe haven't been seen by the NCAA 1, 2s, and 3s, and I bring them into my program and I shine a light on them and market them to those other programs so they can reach their goals as a player. So I think that's the way we market our program is to say, hey, if you come to us, we can help you get to that next level and do it whatever we can to get you there. We've had success with that too on the men's side, and on the women's side, we're picking that up a little bit.
How beneficial is it, Coach, for someone like yourself who played the game at the collegiate level? You've coached at the high school level. You've coached at the club level. I mean, you have a really strong understanding of what a student athlete within this game goes through. It's really got to be beneficial when you're building those relationships in order to have your team as far as the culture goes, but also as far as recruiting goes.
Yeah, it does help to have those different facets of my career where I've been in the youth program, made those connections at the high school program, made all those connections. And you get to use those connections to try and find talent, right? Reach out to the people that you know and say, hey, who do you know in the region that you think would be a good fit for us? So I can use those connections to find those players that maybe I haven't seen and reach out to them and bring them into the program, giving them another opportunity to play.
You've spent a career in volleyball, and as Don just kind of listed out, you've done all these things. You're in a great position to kind of have seen the changes in the game, both the men's game and the women's game. We've seen the sport increase in popularity. We just had Marissa Werner on from Sport Milwaukee, who was a D1 volleyball player, talking about the tournament that's coming in next week. So we've seen the women's game definitely increase in popularity. How have you seen the game change, both in terms of how it's played and how it's been accepted, more so from a fan perspective?
Well, way back in the day when I played the game, the libero wasn't part of the game, and rally score wasn't part of the game either. So, kind of dating myself there, but it's been a while. But those changes have been positive changes for the game, because that the rally score in all sets now, it makes the game so much more dynamic and fun to watch. The way that's played, and getting that libero in there, that defensive specialist that can really stabilize your passing and get that ball to your setter so you can run your tempo and your offense. Those are some positive changes that have made the game so much more dynamic, so much more special, because it just the way the connections are nowadays. We didn't have those connections when I was a youth player. So I think those changes for the positive have made the game a much more exciting game. It's much more exciting for the crowd, and I think it draws more people in, especially on the men's side. The power game on the men's side, people don't realize how dynamic some of those players can be, and when you see them out there on the court, you're just in awe of them. Especially like the Olympic team players. I've come to some of their matches and just watching those guys and the things they do with that ball. It's just amazing.
I thought Coach was going to immediately go to walked uphill both ways with no shoes on back in the day going to school when he was describing his playing days with regards to volleyball. But, Coach, going into this season, we start with the women's program. And so how are you feeling at this point, getting set for camp and getting set for the season to begin, with where your team stands as of right now?
Well, I'm really stoked about the team this year. Last year we didn't have the results that we're looking for, but we brought in some quality players this year. Brooke, our setter, Riley is returning as our setter, and Brooklyn, our setters we brought in can really control the ball, control the tempo of the offense, and we have some hitters that came in too. Our middle hitters, Emily and Fautino, they're tall, dynamic, and they're going to be hard to stop. Our outside play too. Rebecca came in as a transfer from another university, and Allison's coming in. So we are loaded this year, and with the return of our opposite Candace, and I think we're going to have a really good season this year. I think we're going to show the junior college what Brian Stratton volleyball is all about this year.
Do you get a break in between between the women's season and the men's season? Because it doesn't just end with the women's season, then suddenly you start the games. You obviously, for the men, you've got the camps and preseason, everything that you're doing. So what kind of space do you have to breathe before your men's season starts?
Well,
Not much.
I guess I don't have a lot of time. I usually get like a month off in the summer, and then I get right back after it. Volleyball is just in my blood. I just love it. I've always been a member of a volleyball team. So I really don't mind. To me, it's not even like a job. It's just like life, basically. So
That's the best when you
Yeah.
find a profession where it doesn't feel like a job, that you just love being a part of it. Kudos to you, Coach. Appreciate you jumping on board this morning and talking about the volleyball programs over at Bryan and Stratton, and we wish you much luck as the season begins. We'll be watching.
all right, thank you. Let's go Bobcats.
All right, that's Todd Gray, head volleyball coach at Bryan and Stratton. We'll take our last break of the day, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with regards to the Wisconsin Badgers and hand out some shovels as well. We'll get to it next. It's College Sports Weekly. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
to shovel the funk. I want to shovel the funk. I want to shovel the funk. I feel like shovel the funk. I got to shovel the funk. You want to shovel the funk? Do you want to shovel the funk? Then go ahead. Go.
One last time, welcome back in live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. This is College Sports Weekly, as we are powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Guys, as we get ready to hand out shovels, I want to do one broad-ranging, honorary, heartfelt shovel. So we're going to send this out to, for instance, Paul in Caledonia, Kim and Hilton down in Indiana. We got a lot of parents this weekend who are moving children into college for their freshman year. It's going to be tough. Everybody will be fine. Stock up on some Kleenex. If you're into the stock market, you may want to day trade on Kleenex right now, because I have a feeling many boxes are going to be bought. But a shovel to all the parents who are headed down to their respective colleges, that will stand in line with their cars, wait for the bins to come out, and then move all of the stuff into those dorm rooms, and then all of the stuff you'll take back home because you bought too much. Just good luck to everybody, and welcome to a new year. And with that, Charlie, I start with you today, my friend.
I had so many to go through, like throughout my
I
day
love
today,
it.
the week.
I love it.
First, I want to start out with April. She sent some really nice messages here on the YouTube stream to us, talking about our show and covering both men's and women's sports outside
Thanks,
of basketball
April.
and football. And we really appreciate you listening. It's really awesome to have you around. So thanks again for that. The one I settled on, and it's because I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, just like Don over there. I really want Dan to drink the Kool-Aid too. This is Badgers quarterback Colton Joseph on what fans should expect from the offense this year.
Your fans look forward to from an offense this year?
Explosiveness. I think we're going to be explosive. Big plays down the field, big runs, big passes, all of it. And we're going to score a lot of points.
Nice. I don't know if you can add much to that. He didn't leave
I
much
was
on the
thinking
boat for
attacking,
you.
but he said it on the head. So.
Charlie, can I be really sarcastic right
sure.
now? If you took the explosiveness and put it next to Mateo's cut that we played earlier, you could have some real fun with that.
You're gonna want to use your dominant hand, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I couldn't let that pass up.
The other, I have one more small shovel. So this is to future college athletes, the Wisconsin Little League team that made it all the way to
Absolutely.
the finals of their
Whitefish
regional
Bay,
Whitefish
let's
Bay.
go.
Well done, boys.
They will eventually all be great college athletes, I'm sure. They did a great job. Really proud of them. As a country, it was really fun watching them. Again, the whole state was behind you. Truly, Wisconsin
Absolutely.
State Fair, every TV that you
Yeah.
walked by, every
Yep.
bar, it was
Yep.
watching you guys. So congrats to you. That was a great run.
Good stuff. All right, Daniel, go ahead. Nice job, Charlie.
That's so positive.
Oh, thanks.
Here we go. Here we go. Glass half empty. Professor, go ahead.
Just Michigan. Learn this week. Michigan, the College of Literature, Arts, and Science has decided that first semester freshmen only get pass, no pass grades. It's not going to be letter grades. They're going to be keeping them so they can report out, but it's pass or no pass for their first semester freshmen.
What is the point of that?
Oh, this is an hour rant. This is an hour rant.
Good thing we
okay?
got shovels early this
Yeah,
week.
this is an hour rant. Okay. So let's take a step back, because this is a college show about sports, right? So arts, sciences, and literature. Okay. You have a variety of majors in that school, everything from molecular biology to just mathematics to all the way down. And then what do you have? There is a major at Michigan, which I've known about in the school, called what? General Studies. Where do you think you find a lot of your football players?
Probably in general studies.
Probably in general studies. Guys, I could go on forever. I could just go on forever about, you know how we fix what's wrong with the world? We make it easier, because hard is mean. Hard makes me feel bad. Okay. So now we're making, and this came from MIT, by the way. Michigan is not the first one to do it.
I know.
Okay, so now I've got two things I'm going to put out there into the ethos. Right, number one, Ohio State, you're up. Are you going to take this line down? I doubt it.
I hear you.
You're not say who's going to follow suit.
Right.
This is a mess. I hate this. And it's all about being nicer and making it easier. And okay, that bugs me. That does. And I understand about things like anxiety and I get it. I understand. But the idea of fixing this is to make everything easier. I hate that. Okay, it's the hard that makes it worthwhile.
Well,
okay.
I'm looking here. Breaking news: the Michigan-Ohio State game. They won't keep score. They're just going to play. It's going to play for 60 minutes. They'll throw halftime in, let the bands play.
Gonna hug at
Everybody's going to celebrate. There will be no flag planting at the center of the field. So, everything will be kumbaya.
So to wrap this up really quick, number 2, Wisconsin, don't you do this. Don't you do this. Don't go back to the coach, Gary, whatever his name, was around for 1 year and wasn't very good, who was complaining about we can't get the right athletes in because our academic standards are too high. By the way, Michigan's academic standards for the kids that can't handle it is 3.88. That's the average for them to walk in and be a member of the esteemed academic institution that is at Michigan. But we need this. Right, this just annoys. I don't know if you can tell. It annoys the hell out of me.
I had no idea, Dan.
Do they just think because like that entry level GPA, that 3.88 that we're talking about, because these kids have that already going in, they're thinking, okay, well, we can put this over the guy or under the guise of these other kids. They don't need to be graded that hard because we already know they're good students. We know they're coming in. But again, that's under the guise of protecting the football players from getting in trouble, anything like that.
Here becomes the issue. Part 1, you took a standard from MIT, which operates at a completely different level,
right?
Which
than
they can
a
actually
Michigan,
say
Wisconsin.
The people we bring in are geniuses. It's all right. They can be pass-fail for a little while.
And now think if you're a student. Boy, we're going off. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
Think if you're a student, Charlie, and it's you and I, we're in the same class, we're under that particular umbrella.
Yep.
And you finish the year, I'll just use percentages, with a 99.6%. And me finishes the year with about a 69.8. But yet our grade remains the same when you look at that, and we're both eventually going to compete for whatever major, right, to get into whatever school to continue our major, and yet both of us achieve the same level. Now somebody will say, well, we're talking about personal goals and how you're going to work and your work ethic and all of that, but I think what happens is it becomes inverted. Charlie's like, I studied my tail off and didn't go out and do A, B, and C during the week because I needed X grade. But I saw Wachilla's doing what he was doing, and he got the same grade. Oh, no. I'm going to have me some fun next year. So I think what ends up happening is this inverted situation that takes place. Again, taking a standard from a school like MIT and then try to blanketly apply it.
And what kills me is that Michigan puts itself out there for its standards as an institution. It is not easy to get into Michigan. Okay. You start the Big Ten at Northwestern, and then you kind of work your way back. I think Maryland was kind of high, stuff like that. Michigan was 4, Wisconsin was 5.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten. Okay. In terms of academic standards. What are you doing? Okay. This matters. Okay. It really matters. And so Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, please don't do this. This is a mistake. Easier is not the fix to better. Okay. Accept that hard things are sometimes worthwhile and they are good. And college should still be that way. I'm done for now.
Charlie, tell Sparky he's got to recut the intro. We're not calling him professor. We're just call him dad. The dad, Dan
Grandpa,
Underberg.
This is when you know you're old. This is when you know.
All right, I'm going to shift gears. I'm giving my shovel to a collective group down in LSU, because LSU once again has reared its ugly head into the realm of college athletics, where Jaden Daniels has now sent a cease and desist letter to LSU with regards to his name, image, and likeness, any promotional and recruiting activities, because Jaden's not a fan of the fact that his number is going to be passed out when he was led to believe that it was going to be retired, especially after he won the Heisman Trophy, by which the copy of the Heisman Trophy that exists within the walls of the football program, Jane says, yeah, I want that back. I don't even want you to have that. This is where we've come. And then you guys, we were talking about organizational stuff during the break. Here's another example where you have an organization that is led in such a fashion that they're stepping on themselves, right? This could have easily been fixed before any of this had gotten to this level with some fundamental conversations, but the conversations happened too late. Jaden isn't happy. The university's not happy. But for us here in Wisconsin, I'm all for it. Keep the drama going.
Okay, but what can Jaden Daniels do? Who owns the number is really what it comes down to.
Oh, it's absolutely.
LSU,
but
right?
what Jaden can do, though, is pull his name, image, and likeness out of the recruiting file, so to speak.
So
when you're going after other kids and you tout the fact that you have a Heisman Trophy winner, it's Jaden Daniels.
So now
It's in
he's
the
he
NFL.
who must not be named.
He
When the recruit.
he better not get hurt in the NFL, because if he does, his
Oh.
legacy at LSU is
Yeah.
dead. Like
Yes.
he just killed it.
Yeah.
So if you go in and have a Robert Griffin III moment,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden your career's over, what are you going to do?
You have your come to you-know-who moment where you reconcile with LSU
Is
because
LSU going to want to? Like,
I
are they
think
going
they
to be
will.
petty about
Yeah,
this?
they'll
No,
bring
I
him
think
back.
they
You think
They'll
so?
bring him back.
I think
Yeah,
they will.
it's-
I get the pettiness part of it, and I think it'll be petty initially, but there'll be some donor who sits everybody down at the table, who slides checks both right and left, and suddenly it's kumbaya, it's rainbows and unicorns, and everybody's happy.
A
again.
comparison is 2,000 miles to the north. Everybody was upset with Brett Favre, and then one day you walk in and there's a whole Lambeau Field filled to say goodbye and
Yeah.
thank you to Brett. There will be a chance. I kind of see where Jaden's coming from. Like, I won the Heisman.
Yeah.
I think that's an automatic. If you win the Heisman, you retire it. And then if someone really wants that number, you go to him and say, is it okay?
Well,
But-
I don't know why LSU doesn't just turn around and go, you know what? 5, 7, and 9 are special numbers for us. 5 is for the best athlete. It's based off Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman for
There
us.
you go.
7's our number one recruit, because that's what it's always been. That guy that you is going to be the prime piece. You're the future of our franchise. That's Leonard Fournette's number. We're going to call it the Leonard Fournette number. And then number 9 is our best overall player, our leader, our captain. That's Joe Burrow's number. And now all of a sudden you got those 3 guys enshrined while also still being able to use the damn number.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
It's about hanging a
That's- yeah.
banner, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You can hang a banner without having the number retired. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that. I mean, because I get it. I think of the Boston Celtics all the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With the number of numbers that they've retired. And you start seeing now some of the current Boston Celtics running around with like 77, 87, 86. Like we've got nothing else to give because we've retired so many. You can work around that by making sure, as Charlie just said, these numbers and on the banner, best player, quarterback, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. But the fact that it's drama, it's Lane Kiffin. Oh, I'm so for it. It's unbelievable. All right. Music in the background says it's time for us to get up out of here. My thanks to Ben Steele from the Journal Sentinel for joining us talking about Marquette. Marissa Werner from Visit Milwaukee with that unbelievable Division I women's volleyball tournament that will take place next weekend down at Fiserv Forum. Make sure you go get your tickets and enjoy that. And Todd Gray, the head coach for both the men's and women's program at Bryan and Stratton. Appreciate everybody jumping on today as we get ourselves closer to kickoff. For the Professor Dan Underberg, a.k.a. Dad, Charlie using on the 1s and 2s. I'm Don Wachillis. Have yourself a great weekend. We're back in 6 and 22.